In this on-demand tutorial, we will be looking at the transition to adulthood domain in the CANS 2.0. The items within this domain include number 87, independent living skills, number 88, transportation, number 89, parenting roles, number 90, intimate relationships, number 91, medication compliance, number 92, educational attainment, 93, victimization, and number 94, job functioning. Note that these items are scored for youth that are 14 and a half years old and older. All of these items have an NA option. However, NA will only be scored for youth under the age of 14.5 years, with a few exceptions we will be discussing in more depth on the next slides. Looking at item number 87, independent living skills. This rating focuses on the presence or absence of skills and impairments in independent living abilities or the readiness to take on those responsibilities. This item supplements information from the Ansel-Casey assessment. Note, this item is looking at basic living skills such as organization, diet, and money management. Looking at the item levels for number 87, independent living skills. We see that a 0 is for a person who is fully capable of independent living. There's no evidence of any deficits or barriers that would impede maintaining their own home. When we get to a 1, the youth has some mild impairments with things such as maintaining cleanliness, diet, money management, etc. Some basic home economics classes and finance management would address the level of deficit. A 2 is a moderate impairment of independent living skills. This level of deficit would be required in-home services or support to address concerns with cooking, cleaning, and self-management. When we get to a 3, we see that the youth is unable to live independently. Here we see that NA option, and we will only be scoring NA for youth that are younger than 14 and a half years or years old. Do not rate this based on if a youth is or can live independently based on age. Remember, this item is looking at the skills the youth possesses related to independent living and what services the youth may require to obtain these skills. Think about it like back in the day when high school used to teach home economics or how to balance a checkbook. They didn't expect that you were living alone, but rather they were setting you up with skills to do so. 88, transportation. This item is used to rate the level of transportation required to ensure that the individual could effectively participate in their own treatment and other life activities. Only unmet transportation needs should be rated here. Again, this item is supplements information from the Ansel-Casey assessment. Please note that this item is not rating if the youth can drive. Rather, it is rating any unmet transportation needs they have. For example, do they have access to public transportation? Are there people that can provide transportation for them? When looking at the item levels for number 88, transportation, a 0 is a youth who has no unmet transportation needs. A 1 would be a youth with occasional transportation needs that can be easily supported. Maybe they need to learn a bus or train route or just require a bus card. This is not a concern more than once a week, and they do not require any special transportation. A 2 is for occasional transportation needs with special vehicle, or frequent, meaning daily, unmet transportation needs that do not require a special vehicle. And a 3 would be frequent, such as daily, unmet transportation needs that do require a special vehicle. Here we see that NA option, and that will be reserved for youth under the age of 14 and a half years old. Number 89, parenting roles. This item is intended to rate the individual in any caregiving role. This item supplements information from the Ansel-Casey assessment. On this item, we will be rating any youth with a son or daughter. We will be rating any youth responsible for an elderly parent or grandparent. and we want to make sure that we're including pregnancy as a parenting role. When we look at the item levels for parenting roles, we see that a 0 is for an individual who is a parent or in a caregiving role and is functioning appropriately. A 1 would be a youth who is a parent or in a caregiving role, but at times experiences some difficulties. Remember, this is a watchful waiting spot. This might be something you want to keep an eye on, or could be a situation that a little assistance could be put into place. A 2 would be a youth who is a parent or in that caregiving role and is struggling with those responsibilities. Those responsibilities could be interfering with the individual's functioning. This is a rating where you would want to put a plan into place, for example, parenting classes. A 3 would be a youth who is a parent or in a caregiving role, however, they are unable to meet those responsibilities, or those responsibilities are making it impossible for the youth to function in other life domains. There may be a potential for abuse at this level. You'll want to put an immediate plan into place at this rating. Here we see that NA rating. Again, this will be used for any youth that is younger than 14 and a half, but you may also use NA for any youth who is not a parent or in a caregiving role. Number 90, intimate relationships. This item is used to rate the individual's current status in terms of romantic or intimate relationships. Again, this item supplements information from the Ansel-Casey assessment. The item levels for 90 intimate relationships. We see that a 0 is a youth who is either in a positive partner relationship or has maintained a positive partner relationship in the past, but is not currently in a relationship. So we do see that this level has a little bit of a history to it. A 1, the youth has generally healthy relationships with a partner. However, at times that relationship may impede on healthy development. Again, we see that watchful waiting at this level. A 2, there may be a recent history of DV, or the youth may be overly dependent on their partner. The relationship may be current or recent. A 3, this level would be rating where you would want to put an immediate plan into place because the youth is currently in a relationship that is negative, or there's DV, or the youth is completely dependent on their partner. Again, here we see the NA option, and this will be used for children who are 14 years younger or is not currently and has never been in an intimate relationship. 91, medication compliance. This rating focuses on the level of the individual's willingness or ability to participate in taking prescription medications. When looking at the item levels for medication compliance, a 0 would be a youth who there are no concerns about them taking their medication or they are currently not on medication. A 1, we see that this level can have a history piece to it, and if there is a history of noncompliance, we would rate the youth here. We also rate youth who generally will take their medication but occasionally need a reminder. A 2 would be a youth who is resistant to taking their medication and is sporadic about taking it. We would also rate a youth who is placing themselves at medical risk by sporadically taking their medication. And a 3 would be a youth who refuses to take their medication in the past 30 days. We would also rate a 3 if they have significantly abused their medication, putting them in danger in the past. An NA option will only be used for youth who are younger than 14 and a half years old. If they are 14 and a half or older and are not currently on medication, we will be scoring this item a 0. Number 92, educational attainment. This rates the degree to which the individual has completed their planned education. Again, looking at that item level for educational attainment, a 0 would be for an older youth who has graduated from high school and not obtaining a college degree does not impact their vocational functioning. They have already met their educational goals. We see that a 1 is a youth who has an educational goal and is making progress towards that goal. Again, this is something you may just want to keep an eye on and check in on to make sure that they are still on track. A 2 is a youth who has a goal but has yet to make progress. Maybe a youth who knows that they want to go to college or vocational school after high school, but has not applied anywhere yet. You may set a plan in place that helps them meet the goal of sending out applications, for example. A 3 is a youth with no educational goals, and it is interfering with the individual's lifetime vocational functioning. An example may be a youth who has dropped out of high school. You may be setting up a plan for them to get their GED or something equivalent. 93. Victimization. This item is used to examine the history and level of current risk for victimization. Note, a rating of a 1 or 2 considers historical information. Within the item levels for victimization, a 0 will be used to score if the youth is not recently been victimized and there's no history of significant victimization. They are not currently at risk for re-victimization. A 1 will be scored for a youth with a history of victimization, but none within the past year. Example, if the youth has a history of physical or sexual abuse, you would rate them a 1 on this item. A 2 is going outside of that typical 30-day window and considering any victimization within the past year as long as the youth is not at risk of re-victimization. And a 3 is for a youth who have recently been victimized and are at acute risk for re-victimization. Examples that the manual gives are prostitution or living in an abusive relationship. Again, we see this NA option, and it will only be scored for youth who are younger than 14 and a half years old. 94. Job functioning. This item is intended to describe functioning in vocational settings. Note, this item is looking at how a youth functions as an employee. Within the item levels for job functioning, a 0 would be a youth who is gainfully employed and has no problems with attendance, performance, or work relationships. A 1, again, remember this is that watchful waiting place. If a youth is gainfully employed, but there seems to be some concerns with attendance, performance, or work relationships, you may want to score this item a 1 and keep an eye on the situation. At a 2, you'll want to begin to put a plan into place to help if the youth is having significant problems with work attendance, performance, or relationships. A 3 is for a youth who is having significant problems at work with attendance, performance, or relationships and may either be at immediate risk of being fired or has recently been fired. Again, we see an NA option, and we will be scoring that for youth who are younger than 14 and a half years old. On this item, you can also score NA for any youth who is not employed. But remember, if they are not employed because of concerns with job functioning, you will probably want to score this item a 3. We will now look at some practice examples. Looking at number 87, independent living skills. How would you score a youth who is currently employed, however they tend to spend their entire paycheck as soon as they receive it, and they don't have enough money to pay for bus fare until their next payday? You believe that they could benefit from a class on budgeting and or money management. In this example, the preferred score would be a 1. This level indicates a person with mild impairment of independent living skills. Some problems exist with maintaining reasonable cleanliness, diet, and so forth. Problems with money management may occur at this level. These problems are generally addressable with training or supervision. True or false? Number 88, transportation, is scoring whether a youth can drive. This is false. This item is used to rate the level of transportation required to ensure that the individual could effectively participate in their own treatment and other life activities. Only unmet transportation needs should be rated here. True or false? It is okay to score NA on number 91, medication compliance, for a youth who is currently not on medication. False. We will score a 0 for a youth who is currently not on medication. NAs on this item are reserved for youth who are younger than 14.5 years old. How would you score number 92, educational attainment, for a youth who has vocalized a desire to attend college but has not begun sending in applications? The preferred score in this item would be a 2. The individual has set educational goals but is currently not making progress towards achieving them.